One of the most important checks on government power is a free and independent press. It's one of the building blocks upon which the United States of America is built. And I want to put aside for now sort of the pragmatic reality that media is often taken over by corporate interests in the United States, but focus more on the existence of media as an institution. The Trump administration has been attacking the media as the enemy of the people rather than saying this is a crucial and fundamental necessity in democratic societies. That's what you would want to hear from someone who claims to defend the Constitution and checks and balances and the sort of foundational tenets of the United States. But instead, what we've heard from Trump is that the enemy of the people is the media. And this is particularly boneheaded considering that the right, who talks about needing to protect themselves from a tyrannical government and wanting rifles and handguns to do it, the reality is that a free and independent press is one of the best protections you can have against the tyrannical government that they claim to fear. It almost is like they just say that in order to justify having even more guns. Tons of examples of Donald Trump framing media as bad for America. One tweet, just as an example from last year, Donald Trump saying the fake news media, failing New York Times, NBC News, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. And there are countless iterations of this trying to frame the media as an enemy of Americans at large. It has now been brought to my attention by a few of our viewers that the Trump administration or the Trump campaign or the Trump organization, it's a pretty blurry line between these organizations at this point, have sent out a survey to Republicans called the Media Accountability Survey, which is basically meant to do two things. Number one, it's a total push poll, and I'll explain what that is in a second. It's a total push poll to push people into certain beliefs. And number two, it's a survey meant to generate one-sided results, which they can then use to justify even more subsequent attacks on media outlets that are doing really good critical reporting on Donald Trump. So let's look through this a little bit. The certified website of President Donald J. Trump sent out the Mainstream Media Accountability Survey. And this is truly a clinic on push polling. Let's look at these first two questions, okay? If you wanted to do this fairly, like if we pretend they actually wanted less biased data, instead of saying, do you believe the mainstream media actually cares about working Americans, which is the way that they worded it, you would instead say, please rate the degree to which you feel the mainstream media represents the interests of working Americans. And you might have options like they always do, they mostly do, they sometimes do, stuff like that. Second question, also a push poll question. Do you believe that the mainstream media has unfairly reported on our presidency? That is a push question. Again, if you wanted to ascertain this in a more fair way, you would say, please rate the fairness of the mainstream media on the presidency. Mostly fair, always, whatever, right? I think you understand the way that it would sort of go. Next, another question. This is just a sampling. On which issues does the mainstream media do the worst job of representing Republicans? And then you can check off as many as you want: immigration, economics, pro-life values, religion, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to go through the entire survey, but you sort of get the picture. And what's notable here isn't that they're push polling. That's actually really common. The notable thing is that a concerted effort is being made here by Trump himself in speeches and in interviews, by Trump's advisors who have started to pick up on this, the media is the enemy thing, and now by this survey, to turn people rather, against the media. And this survey is being promoted with huge ad dollars. We have started to get emails from people saying, David, there are ads appearing on your videos on YouTube promoting this survey. They are buying ad space all over the internet. If you go to the Trump supporting forums on the internet, you will see that this is working. If you go to, I don't even name it, but I think some of you know, a particular enclave within a major internet message board of discussion, you'll see Trump is there saying stuff like, quote, and I'm quoting here, the media is the next target. So let's take a step back and see if we can understand what's going on here. They claim that they're for the Constitution and for law and order. They're interfering in investigations carried out by the Justice Department. They are contradicting their supposed support of checks and balances. They're making deals with Supreme Court justices to get them to agree to retire. They're attacking freedom of the press and the value and importance of media as a check on government power. But they want you to think that they have your interests in mind and that they support the Constitution and separation of powers and checks and balances. This is a danger now that is far bigger than Trump. And if it's not resisted, and I don't see enough resistance going on, we're going to see the total subjugation and co-opting of what is arguably one of the top three meta issues. I would say it is without a doubt one of the top three meta issues that we're dealing with, which are, of course, campaign finance, the climate, and media consolidation, media ownership, net neutrality. If we allow the media to be framed as the enemy of the people, it is going to become increasingly difficult to maintain even a putative democracy, which some would argue we don't even really have here, and the fundamental, just basic respect of not an individual media outlet, because that's not what this is. That's the important thing, but just a respect for the fact that we need free and independent press in this country. If you're not as concerned about this as I am, I want to hear why, because this should be red alert crisis in everyone's minds. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. We'll take a quick break and be back after this.